Welcome to the class of Marketing Management. Today we will discuss about the external environment of business. See, the things are changing very fast in the current competitive world compared to the past. This is very evident at least in the telecommunication landscape of India. Till late 90s, telecommunication was the domain of the government and Department of Telecommunication provided basic telephony. The technological landscape across the globe underwent drastic changes in the 90s, and mobile phones provided more convenience to people than fixed landline. Liberalization and opening up of the economy brought new players into the business. Companies like Bharti Televentures, Reliance Telecom, Hutch, Tata, and other international players entered into indirect market through either joint venture or through equity participation. Government also changed its policy and allowed an independent body called Telecom Regulatory Authority of India as a regulator and arbitrator for the telecom companies. Bharat Sanchar Nigam Limited (BSNL) came out of the erstwhile Department of Telecommunication and became a full-fledged company to take competition head-on. The landscape of telecom industry and the nature of competition have undergone drastic changes over the last decade. External technological and legal environment has changed so much that the Indian consumer has no more options to choose from, and the prices of telecom service have made it more affordable to a larger chunk of the Indian population. Instead of being a status symbol, telephone has become a necessity, and the mobile phone is a lifestyle statement for Indians. This turnaround story of the telecom sector in India and the diminishing role of government-owned BSNL is an example of how important external environmental factors are to marketing decisions. The company's product, pricing, distribution, and promotion decisions are substantially affected by various environmental factors. A successful marketing strategy must filter through such factors before they reach their goal. The customer who represent the firm's target market, such as home, business, telecommunication, data processing, etc. Many people believe that organizations can survive if they are sure about the management of their internal system like business process, flow of goods, and internal practices of quality and cost control. The above example which we have stated of how the external factors can shape the destiny and marketing power of organization. Most organizations devote a large part of their effort in managing the internal controllable elements, whereas they need to respond and adopt to the external environmental changes. Though they cannot significantly influence the external environment, but they can be responsive to larger social and other environmental changes, which is likely to affect their business in both short run as well as in long run. Any change in the external environment will have a serious repercussions on the business. So, managers should spend their incremental time in measuring the effectiveness of external environment on their business and learning how to cope up with these changes. This step of understanding the external environment needs their attention on competitive environment first, which has a direct bearing on their businesses. They should also be responsive to external environment like sociological, economical, political, cultural, technological, and legal environment. So, even though a marketing manager cannot control them, he must take these environmental factors into account while reaching strategic marketing decisions. Marketing mix element that can be controlled and managed like product, pricing, distribution and promotion strategies must be modified to meet the pressure exerted by external environmental factors that cannot be controlled by the firm. The dynamic nature of these factors put additional pressure on managers to re-examine marketing decisions continually in light of the evolving environment. Even a small change or shift in the environment has the potential to alter the effectiveness of marketing decisions. Automobile major Bajaj suffered in Indian market when people were changing their preferences from scooters to motorbikes. They could not guess the emerging trend in the customer choice pattern, because of which Hero Honda became a leading motorcycle manufacturer of India. Therefore, we will study all the external environmental factors one by one and also try to analyze what is the effect of these external environmental factors on our business. First of all, we would like to continue with the competitive environment. Most popular definition of competitive environment as a microenvironment, it is the immediate environment in which marketers have to take decisions. The players of this environment are called actors, as they have a direct bearing on the marketing decisions. The interactive process that occurs in the marketplace is known as competitive environment. Marketing decisions influences the market and in turn affected by the counter strategies of the customers. This environment identifies the way a firm does business and against whom it stands in the market. Now let us take an example of a company called Nirma, which you all must be knowing in the Indian market. It defined its competitive environment by identifying key players in business, namely the suppliers, the competitors, the intermediaries, and the customers. The company does not have any influence on the supplier, and a small benefit given by the competitor may lure them away. Similarly, intermediaries are independent business units and they carry the company's product and services to customers. Their objective is being in business is different than the firm. So they will be interested in maximizing their own profits rather than the organizational profit. Any trade promotion scheme will motivate them to push competitors' product deeper and faster into the market as well as in the customer's hand. A company has to identify and define the scope of business and competitors with whom it is likely to compete in the market. A competitive environment allows marketers to plan well in advance about future marketing strategy. The competitive environment often determines the success or failure of a product. If the level of competition is strong and the competitor's product is better in the market, the chances of success in business is low. Similarly, excess supply of product by a competitive firm changes the demand-supply equation and the product suffers in the market. When we introduce a new product in the market, it delivers higher value compared to the existing products and the company becomes successful. Once the company establishes a strong cash flow, it attracts competition and then the market situation changes. Now, the customer do not find any significant difference between company's offer and the competitors, and hence profit dry down. Company starts losing market share unless it modifies the product offer. It is likely to suffer further in the market. Alternatively, if the competitors forget to react immediately, a company can enjoy substantial advantage in the industry. So, success or failure largely depends on how competitors react to company's offer. As you must be knowing, Godrej was a successful refrigerator manufacturer. Once competition intensified, the company started losing market share. Today, though there is a growth in refrigerator industry, Godrej as a brand is not growing as fast as its competitors. In a competitive situation, when the stronger players become aggressive and play the price game, many marginal players are not able to sustain the price pressure and are forced out of competition. Industry gets restructured from the fragmented many player market to a concentrated few player market. We shall now examine how each of the environmental variable can affect a firm's marketing strategy. Through the years, the marketing system have become increasingly competitive. Traditional economic analysis view competition as a battle between companies in the same industry or between substitutable products. Marketers, however, tend to accept the argument that all firms are competing for a limited amount of discretionary buying power. Though we can say that Maruti as a car making company is facing competition from other car manufacturers, but ultimately it is the customer's disposable income for which shampoo, soaps and scooters are also competing with Maruti. A customer is expected to allocate his disposable income optimally, and in the process a category also competes with another category to be in the active consideration set of customers for such an allocation. Industry has found numerous new uses for existing products, with the whole arena of competition being expanded. While this forces businesses to reassess long established marketing practices, it also opens new avenues of business opportunities. Emergence of computers with multimedia as a tool of infotainment and knowledge sharing device has challenged traditional products in the entertainment market. In many instances, it is difficult to define the relationship between the competitive environment and the marketplace. Marketing is the most visible of all business functions. Marketing is where the action is, primarily because it is the most exposed of all business activities. No other function is exposed to public evaluation as continually as marketing. In fact, in the mind of most consumer, the marketing is the company. For a vacuum cleaner, the salesman himself is the company. For Jet Airways, the staff with whom the passenger comes in contact is the company. Loyalty towards a store is dependent on the relationship of customer, the indoor salesperson. It is the overall experience that counts in marketing. That is why people are talking about 360-degree view of marketing. Any marketing firm's relative competitive position is in a large part of function of public opinion. Other key management functions like procurement, production, engineering, quality control and accounting are performed within the organization. Their relationship and contact with general public is considerable to their main activity. Marketing, by contrast, performs bulk of its function responsibility within full view of the public. So, it is natural that marketing receives the burden of critical evaluation of public opinions. The marketer function with this knowledge that public acceptance of marketing operations sets the type of competitive environment in which he has to operate. Positive and favorable public opinion is crucial to marketing success, since the public is the authority that permits the existence and operation of competitive marketing system. This environmental factor includes the general public, its support, the government and set of public who have a direct bearing on business. These public can be classified as welcome public, sought public and unsought public. For example, investors in financial institutions are under the category of welcome public, whereas government, media are counted as sought public. Without their help, it is difficult to have a positive impact on consumers and the society. Pressure groups like consumer activists, environmental activists are unsought public because given a chance, they would create problem for the firm through their righteous grants the license for conducting a business with an expectation that the company will practice fair play. Lack of this supportive framework, as evidenced by declining sales or adverse public opinion, leads to eventual failure of the firm as well as the marketing system. A marketing manager must develop an effective competitive strategy to deal with competitive environment. Many large multinational firms would compete in multiple product markets across the globe, whereas other players will prefer to operate within the geographical boundary of the country and yet achieve marketing success. Though global marketing is a call of the day, many domestic players still prefer to penetrate deeper into the domestic market and achieve success. We will discuss these issues later on in our coming competitive environment as well as in the other external environmental factors which have an effect on our business. Coming on to the second environment, that is the demographic environment, which is one of the most affecting environment in any of the business domain. The demography is the study of population and its characteristics. Marketers are always interested on growth of population. The slowing down of population growth rate in European economy has led marketers to look for emerging markets like India and China. Demographical studies reflects the population growth rate in cities, towns, urban areas, villages, age distribution of population, educational level, and household pattern, religious characteristics, and the migration of population from one location to another. Population growth provides an opportunity only when it is healthy and meaningful. If one evaluates the population growth, we can find that the exponential growth is happening in countries where both the government and the people can least afford it. Population growth in sub-Saharan Africa and poor Southeast Asia are examples where growth has the most adverse impact in the form of malnutrition, higher child and mother mortality rates, and increased percentage of people below the poverty line. Such growth is neither conducive to the world nor to the country. It has no scope to augment the demand or consumption pattern of such a large number of people in the bottom half of the pyramid. The second concern is related to the level of finite non-renewable resources. High level of population growth will fasten the consumption of these resources and the globe will be heading towards a catastrophe. Such uncontrolled growth of population will lead to insufficient food supply, depletion of key mineral and useful resources, and increase in population level. A growth in population does not mean that the market is growing, because marketers need to see where the growth is happening. It is better to serve markets which have fewer customers with paying capability than a large size crowded market with few who can really afford to buy. High rise in population and subsequent curbing by legislation in countries like China and India offers challenges as well as threats to companies in the form of increase in demand for certain product at one stage of the life cycle and slump in another stage of life cycle due to population squeeze. The second most important factor is the population mix. If the majority of the population is vibrant and in the workforce, then they contribute towards the country's growth and have higher power of consumption. But as the population ages, their demand for product and services get restricted. Now let us take an example of Japanese population mix. The percentage of population above 60 can outnumber the people below 30, leading to an imbalance in demographical as well as social dimensions. A country with high percentile population below 10 will be a good market for children products like toys, milk food, dresses and medicines, whereas for an aging population, demand for products that support digestion, viewing and mobility and services like nursing and old age care will be high. So, mix of population and variation on age distribution offers an opportunity for the marketer. In USA, marketers have categorized the population mix with terms like baby boomers, X generations. We are also using such kind of categorization in our Indian market, though the market can be characterized by a geographical boundary to be called as a country market like Indian market, but in reality it is the sum total of some sub-market identified more closely with the ethnic and language-based classification in India. Though the Indian market can be characterized by demographical characteristics, but we understand that consumption, lifestyle, and habits of people are different in different states. Therefore, a consumer durable company has to offer a faster discount on occasions like festivals and some special occasions like vacations. Each group has certain wants and needs which evolves over a large cultural backdrop of that particular state, and it may not be evident in other states if we are talking about the Indian market. Consumption pattern also vary depending on the education level of the people. People who are educated and aware that their rights and demand will make a concerned decision compared to the people who are illiterate. Different educational groups often show different kind of consumption pattern. While it is difficult for clones to survive in a market where people have some level of education, they could survive in the rural heartland of India due to the poor level of education of the people. Literacy level is also another indicator of the population's involvement in informed choice. In a country like USA, where there are a large number of educated people, consumption decisions are more on the basis of brands, whereas in a sub-Saharan African country, people will be involved in commodity-based decision making. Household pattern explains the family type in a demographical environment. We have seen the rise of nuclear family in urban India, where parents with a child or two is the norm. This is not true for rural India, where it's still a joint family pattern. In majority of houses, we have seen families with grandparents living together. A joint family provides economic, social and emotional security, whereas nuclear families are more independent in nature. Size of family affects the stock keeping unit size, and we have seen a growth of small size convenience products on the retail shelves to support the claim that families are going smaller in urban India. Household income are on a rise due to both husband and wife taking up careers. This has also led to growth in consumption and use of products and services that provide more convenience to the working woman. Market for fast food, restaurants, convenience, packaged and processed food, consumer durables like refrigerators, washing machine and vacuum cleaners are on a rise in India. The marketing manager should also monitor geographical shift in population over the years. A large number of people have moved out of village and rural areas to urban India in search of job and better conditions of living. Rural exodus is a big crisis in a country like India because it affects the civic and urban amenities and results in large-scale exploitation of such a huge unorganized workforce. Such exodus also affects the rural economic system. People started moving out during the lean agricultural seasons, and now they are not ready to go back to the rural heartland. This has resulted in growth of slums and crime in the society and poor uses of village resources like land, forest and water reserves. But with such malpractices, there is one key benefit for the marketer. These migrants are responsible for taking urban brands to the rural market and increasing the awareness level of the rural people towards urban produce. The rural market is on a rise because for people from villages, any urban product is a status symbol. So, they will like to possess products and services that will make them more urban. From the discussion related to the demographic environment, we can conclude that though a national market looks like a huge market for the marketer, it consists of a number of small markets, unique in their characteristics and behaving differently to a marketing program. These markets are popularly called micro markets. These markets can be differentiated by geographic location of the customer, age and gender distribution of the customer, lifestyle pattern, household income level, and other relevant demographic characteristics. Such a micro approach in marketing helps the companies to focus on special market segments and design communication and other media vehicles exclusively for each of these segments. The demographic trends are not as abrupt as technological life cycle, and marketers can monitor the demographic trends in market and design marketing offers to suit each target market segment. Now, we will come to another external environment that is known as the cultural environmental factor. And of all the external environmental influences, cultural influences are subtler yet far reaching in nature. While it is easier to measure how other environmental factor influences the business, it is very much difficult to do so for cultural factors. They influence consumers' beliefs, values, and norms. Culture is a complex whole that includes knowledge, belief, art, moral, law, customs, and other capabilities and habits acquired by a consumer as a member of the society. It's a distinct way of life of a group of people and their complete design of living. It is everything that is socially learned and shared by the member of the society. It consists of material artifacts and non-material components also. Material artifacts includes all the physical substances that have been changed and used by people such as tools, roads, farms, products and services which are produced and consumed. Non-material components includes the word people speak, the idea, custom, belief and habits, the way customers shop, the desire of consumer for better and newer products, and consumer response to sales. The significance of culture in understanding human behavior is that it extends our understanding to the extent to which people are more than just chemistry, physiology, or a set of biological drives and instincts. Although customers are biologically similar, their views of the world differ because they act differently due to their cultural background. So, consumer with a different cultural background influences the decision-making process of the marketer. We are witnessing a big consumption-related cultural revolution undergoing in India. The inherited Indian culture is strongly influenced by the Western culture due to advent of television and high level of globalization. People are using products and services which are mostly Western in nature. These are reflected in our food habits, dressing pattern, choice of fashion garments, and also in the way of living. The growth of multiplexes in our cities, large shopping malls, beauty parlors, discos, and use of Western outfits are example of how cultural factors can influence the marketing decisions of a firm. Culture has peculiar characteristics, although we have said that it is inherited, but it can undergo changes from one generation to the other as people tend to invent new ways of living. Marketers need to understand that every culture has an ideological system, a technical system, and an organizational system. An ideological system or mental component consists of ideas, beliefs, values, and way of reasoning that human beings can learn to accept in defining what is desirable for them and the society at large. A technical system consists of skills, crafts, and art that enable human to produce material goods from natural environment. An organizational system such as family, social class make it possible for humans to coordinate their behavior effectively with the actions of the other. Since culture is not intensive, people learn it and marketers slowly try to put a systematic consumption learning system through advertising and other promotional tools. Culture in itself is gratifying. It satisfies both innate and the learned needs. It consists of habits that will gratify through practice. Because of this gratification, the habits are headed down from one generation to the other. People tend to learn about consumption from their elders, and if elders do not perceive the product to be good enough, it is likely to affect the consumption of the young. What implication does the cultural environment have on people and hence on the marketing decision? Now let us look at some of the emerging cultural trends and how they affect our marketing practices. The increasing search for pleasure, fun, and enjoyment means that network ethic is evolving, in which leisure activities will occupy a more important place in people's life. New opportunities will continue to open up in travel, entertainment, sports, leisure-oriented products, and education and information industries. As people shift their notion about individual rights and responsibilities and increasingly feel that they are entitled to such things as adequate retirement income, comprehensive health care, decent housing, college education, consumers may be expected to increase, giving an opportunity for marketers to these sectors to achieve greater success. The growing emphasis on self-respect, sense of accomplishment, and self-fulfillment, with its focus on inner rather than outer directed satisfaction, means that consumers want to live life to the fullest. There is an unprecedented degree of interest in spending time, money, and efforts on maximizing looks and feeling of vigor and well-being. The back to nature or simple is better trend has been influential in the rejection of artificial and acceptance to the natural. This has given a scope for growth of Ayurvedic products and herbal products in Indian market. Technological changes has also influenced the cultural context of consumption. While most of the industrialized nations have moved from good consuming to the service consuming culture, rapid changes in the information technology platform and innovations in communication has reduced the time spent for information to travel from producer to consumer. People have started what we call virtual communities in which they make friendship and start building relationship over internet. These virtual communities have a strong influence on their purchase process also. Another development is a move from materialistic society to post-materialistic society in which people are becoming more sensitive to the physical environment. It has forced marketers to more sensitive to the natural environmental issues while designing marketing offers. Therefore, it is very much important for us to study the social environment, which is again an important factor of the external environment. Perhaps social environment has maximum direct effect on consumers. Social forces shape consumption habit of the people. Now let us look at the food market in Indian context. Due to changes in the lifestyle and more women taking up jobs, there is a rising demand for processed and packaged food. Packaged brand of chicken and other frozen food are doing well in Indian market. The societal environment is the marketer's relationship with society in general. It is an explanation of readiness of society to accept a marketing idea. For example, frozen packaged chicken is an acceptable product proposition, but frozen beef may not be a good idea on the retail shelf in a large part of the Indian market. Trust and confidence of the public in business as a whole is also influenced by societal impressions. Such relationship has been on the decline since the mid 1960s. Various opinion polls suggest that members of society are slowly losing confidence in major companies. These declines should be viewed in the perspective that most of the people or public institutions in India are on a decline. People in government and trade unions are less popular than people in business. The societal environment for marketing has expanded both in scope and importance. Today, no marketer can initiate a strategy without taking the societal environment into account. The context flux of societal issue requires that marketing manager place more emphasis on solving these questions through marketing than just applying standard marketing roles or standard marketing tools. Companies have started appointing managers to conduct public policy research and to study changing social environment future impact on the business. Of course, there are questions related to methods of measurement on the accomplishment of socially oriented objectives through marketing. A firm that is attuned to its societal marketing environment must develop new ways of evaluating its performance level. Traditional income statements and balance sheet are no longer adequate. We need to develop models of social cost benefit analysis to measure the far-reaching impact of marketing decisions. The social implications for marketing decision is often more crucial in the international sphere than in the national market. Marketers must be aware of societal differences in the way that business affairs are conducted in different countries. Taste and consumer behavior also vary from place to place. In India, brands like Dettol have a higher impact on people because of its burning sensation, whereas Savlon does well in Europe due to its mild nature. In rural India, black shampoo is preferred more because women feel that black shampoo makes hair look glossier. Italian drink beer before sleep, whereas German prefer them during the lunch hours. Therefore, gender in specific is another increasingly important societal factor. The feminist movement has had a decided effect on marketing, particularly on advertising and sales promotion. Television commercials feature women in more stereotyped roles than in previous years, making it one of the most controversial issues of our time. Marketers must continually monitor the changes in societal variables to keep the product relevant for the consumers. What seems to be cut out of the bound today may be tomorrow's greatest market opportunities. And we can see this in previously taboo subjects such as the feminine hygiene offering a big market for sanitary napkins in India. The marketing manager need to understand how the consumer react to different products and marketing practices in a social setting. One of the most tragic and avoidable marketing mistake is the failure of marketing managers to understand and appreciate societal differences within the Indian market. The rise of consumerism and consumer movement is traced to the increasing public concern with making marketing more responsible towards its larger societal constituents. Now, coming on to the next, we will go for legal and the political environment. Legal and political environment also influences marketing decisions. We have understood from our previous discussions that overall concern for business is increasing in the society. More and more people are losing faith in the business system. Government plays a key role in modifying or moderating the role of business in the society through its legislation. Business is expected to play a decent role and practice fair play, but sometimes it is necessary to control business because the major motive of earning profit makes them compromise on the welfare aspect of the business. Although when one can argue that in a free market economy, business should be self-regulated, but experience of free market economy and roles played by large business houses in the past make us more skeptic, and this puts pressure on government to regulate the business. There has been a growth in number of legislations over a period of time to let the business know that before they play the game, they should learn the rule. Ignorance of legal environment often results in loss of public life and goodwill and results in fines, embarrassing negative publicity and expensive civil damage suits. It is an extremely difficult task to understand all the laws related to marketing because of the legislation at multiple levels. There are certain legislation brought at central government level, whereas some are practiced differently in different states of India. This is a critical issue related to sales and different kinds of taxes. Although earlier we have value added tax, also known as VAT, tries to simplify them, but after the implementation of GST, goods and service taxes, things have become uniform throughout the country. Therefore, traditionally, the pricing and promotion variables have received the most legislative attention. The idea of free enterprise society and free market economy has been gradually changing. At the time of independence, the prevalent attitude was to control the business, whereas post-90s, they are allowed to act quite freely. In the past, very often, consumers were duped despite having strict legislation. As the customers become more aware about their rights and due to advancement of technology, customers have more offers and also more knowledge on product attributes and the prices. Yet, with increasing complexity of product, growth of big impersonal businesses, as well as unfair or careless treatment of consumer by a few, the value of society changed, and it is still felt that government needs to regulate the business for the betterment of the society. Governments at state and central level have responded with different kinds of legislation to protect consumer rights and to attain and maintain a competitive environment for business. A bird-eye view of different kinds of legislation that have been enacted in India to protect the consumer and force business to go for fair play make us feel that the legislation are more adequate enough to protect the consumer. Laws such as Monopolies and Restrictive Trade Practices (MRTP) and Foreign Exchange Regulation Act are dumped in order to promote growth of free enterprises in India. Business legislation in India can be classified into legislation covering corporate affairs, consumer protection, employee protection, specific sector protection like small scale industries, protection of companies against hostile takeover bids, protection against unhealthy prices and distribution practices and related to deception type of advertising. False advertising related legislation includes prohibition of false statement of any kind made to the public about products and the services. We have also seen the Pepsodent's false claim of effectiveness being questioned by legislation and subsequently the campaign was withdrawn from the market. Marketers often uses very offensive pricing strategy to kill the competition. There are also instances in which marketers have used discriminatory pricing mechanisms against the customer in different markets. Selling above advertised price is also prohibited in our country. So, it is necessary to offer a fair price to consumers, government control and legislate against increase in price through the cartel. There are various provisions of protection of consumer rights in different laws, but the Consumer Protection Act of 1985 specifically gives right to consumers and protect the consumer interest. The legal framework for relationship between the business and consumers is designed to encourage a competitive marketing system to employ and adhere to best business practices. Such protections are necessary because they make fair play possible and protect the quality manufacturers and promote a healthy business environment. Though many people feel that Indian market is over-regulated, but the research by the authors prove that customers are more vulnerable in Indian market as compared to the developed nations. Coming on to the next, we will go for economic environment of the business, which is again a very important external environmental factor. As opportunities to consume largely depends on the kind of economic system in which the consumer makes any type of purchase. In developed economies, consumer has more choice to make in the same category and more avenues are available to spend compared to a developing or agrarian-based economy. The current state of the economy also influences the available disposable income for the consumer. Economic environment has a highest influence on the marketing decisions as it affects the purchasing power of the consumer. By economic environment, we mean all those macroeconomic environmental factors like the income distribution level of saving, debt and credit availability to the consumer and stage in the business cycle. They affect the marketing decisions in combination with the available company and enjoys the individual freedom. Situations in economic environment give opportunity and also generates threats to the market. We can take an example, a company which sells price value product has more scope to get higher customer in a declining economy compared to a luxury brand. In a deteriorating economy, financial institutions do well as saving level go higher and people stop consuming products which they would have done otherwise in a boom condition. So, economic environment has a sizable influence on the way marketers operate. The economic environment is extremely complex and it includes dynamic business fluctuations that tend to follow a cyclic pattern, generally composed of four stages, namely the recession, depression, recovery, and prosperity. The type, direction, and intensity of a firm's marketing strategy depends on the economic climate and business fluctuations. The marketer should be aware about the economy's relative position in the business cycle and how it will affect the position of his business. This requires the marketer to analyze forecast of future economic activity. Marketing strategy will vary with each stage of business cycle. During the prosperous time, consumers are usually more willing to buy than when they feel economically threatened. So, marketers are expected to pay close attention to the consumer's relative willingness to buy. The aggressiveness of a firm's marketing strategy is dependent upon current buying intentions. More aggressive marketing may be called for in periods with lessened buying interest so that companies can push their products through larger consumer benefits. Automobile makers across the globe follow such kind of strategy during the economic downturn stage. While industry sales figures may experience cyclic variation, the successful firm has a rising sales trend line due to aggressive marketing. Such kind of persuasion of an aggressive marketing strategy depends on the manager's ability to foresee, correctly estimate, and reach new market opportunities. Lifestyle pattern also affects the marketer's decision. A lifestyle is the way a person decides to live his or her life. It concerns one's family, job, social activities, and consumer decisions. Lifestyles are reflections of the activities, interests, and opinions of a person. Changing lifestyles are a variable that influences marketing. We have seen that Indian upper middle class consumers have started foregoing additional income in favor of leisure. The double income, no kids is another lifestyle concept affecting the demand pattern of the product targeted for children segment. Typical retirement ages are changing very fast. People are retiring early to enjoy life and travel to different parts of the country, giving a scope for growth in travel and tourism industry. All of these are lifestyle decisions that will affect the economic environment of the competitive marketing system. Now let us discuss how economic system passes through and influences the marketing strategy. Inflation can occur during any stage of the business cycle. Inflation is a rising price level resulting in reduced purchasing power for the consumer. A person's money is devalued in terms of what it can buy for him. Last few years have seen inflation being under control in India, for which the value of money has not gone down as it used to be in the past when we experienced double-digit inflation. High inflation leads to widespread concern over public policy to stabilize price levels and overt way of adjusting personally to the reduced spending power of the consumers. Stagflation is a peculiar kind of inflation where the economy has high unemployment and a rising price level at the same time. Implementing a marketing strategy for increasing market share at different under such circumstances. Government uses fiscal policy and monetary policy to counter inflation. Fiscal policy concerns the receipt and expenditure of the government. To combat inflation, an economy could reduce government expenditure, raises its revenue through primary taxes, or do a combination of both. Monetary policy refers to the manipulation of the money supply and market rates of interest. In periods of rising prices, monetary policy may dictate that the government take action to decrease the money supply and rise the interest rates, thus restraining purchasing power. There are various marketing implications to both fiscal and monetary policy issues in battling against inflation. Higher taxes means less consumer purchasing power, which results in sales decline for non-essential goods and services. Lower expenditure level makes the government a less attractive customer for many industries. A lower money supply means less liquidity is available for potential conversion to purchasing power. Another way in which inflation affects marketing is by modifying consumer behavior. Modest increase in the general price level, often termed as creeping inflation, go largely unnoticed by customers, but as purchasing power continues to decline, customer becomes more conscious of inflation, which leads to price consciousness, which leads to three possibilities. Consumer can buy now believing that price will go higher, decides to reallocate their purchasing pattern, or postpone certain purchases. Conversely, marketers also use demarketing strategy in a situation when the brisk demand exceeds manufacturing capacity or outpaces the response time required to gear up a production line. Shortages may also be caused by a lack of raw material, component parts, energy, or labor. It is a process of cutting consumer demand for a product back to a level that can be reasonably supplied by the firm. Some oil companies have done similar campaigns in India when oil prices soared higher in recent past, where they give supplies. This is in sharp contrast to marketing traditional objectives of expanding sales volume, shortages, or to backorder some customers so that other can be completely supplied. Shortages certainly present marketing strategies with a unique set of marketing problems which are quite different than the problems of plenty in a consumer based market. So, these are some of the external environmental variables which we have discussed today. We will discuss the other related external environmental variables in our coming session. Have a nice day. Thanks to you.